The distortion patterns around us form our thoughts and our ideas and our expectations and what it is that we think we have to do. These are all just thought forms and lineage patterns and cultural conditioning and religious conditioning. To be a good provider, a good father, a good mother, a good wife, a good daughter, a good brother, a good, whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. In part, these are our obligations, which form to some of us, or many of us, this idea of how we were supposed to be in the world. In part, our purpose, right, is supposed to be these good fill in the blank, right? So, and that's interesting because then who are you doing that for? Are you doing it for someone else? Are you really doing it for yourself? Mm-hmm. What's driving that? What distortion patterns are causing that? So it's all a very expectation, obligation, all that stuff is a result of distortion pattern. You remove these things and all of a sudden you really just don't care. And it sounds callous, but it's not. It's a freeing. Because then it's sort of like, okay, well, I understand why that expectation is there. I understand why that obligation is there. I understand why they want me to do this. And actually, that's not relevant to me at this point. Okay, because you become free of that. Now, some people might get really upset by that, like, oh no, that's not good or whatever, and that's okay. And notice how bound you are by those things. Yeah.
So, what came to me as you were walking through that is, we have a lot of parents or grandparents listening to this.
Yeah.
And so they themselves, in many cases, are still asking that question.
Yeah.
What is my purpose? Why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got, those patterns in the family that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And so the last thing we want to do as a parent or a grandparent is kind of lay that on our children.
Yeah.
Surrounded by a lot of fear or anxiety,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think whether or not you do it consciously or verbally or physically, it's running through you frequency-wise.
Yeah.
So, and I realize that might cause a lot of anxiety for people who are like, oh, great, well, then it really doesn't matter what I do because they're getting it anyway, right? And to some degree, yes, it's true. I mean, they are going to be receiving the lineage patterns that you're passing through yourself into them. And that's not a bad thing. Okay, I just want to say, It's not necessarily bad because it sounds like all lineage patterns are terrible. They're not. Okay, there are things in your lineage that have become wisdom, that have become learnings, that are efficiencies. So you don't want to toss that baby out with the bathwater, right? So you keep the things that are good that you've learned from your lineage, and you just release the things that are no longer serving. So I would say to parents, I mean, I know there's so much pressure, right? You have to do things right. You want to make sure the kids are eating properly, that they're getting the right schooling, and who are they with, and then, oh my gosh, what's happening in our culture, and how much electronic stuff are they exposed to, right? There's a whole host of things that can possibly go wrong, and I get it, it's a lot. And don't add to it by wondering about, do I have to condition them for purpose? The lineage patterns that are coming to them for a reason, and if they will, in their lifetime, choose to transcend it, that is their part of their purpose. Yeah. So it's perfect the way it is. Yeah. So don't add that to your list of things to freak out about.
That takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
But as a parent or a grandparent, just to have that awareness.
Yes.
To have that.
Totally. And just notice and it's not just with children, it's with anyone around you. When you're trying to get someone to do something particularly, at least for me, I start to ask myself, why do I want them to do that? Why am I trying to get someone to do something other than what they're currently doing? Why do I need to control them in that way? Okay, so I'll use Chris, my husband. If I'm asking him, hey, what are you doing that for? Why do I care what he's doing that for? Are we in a rush? Why it's my agenda? So it's an interesting thing to ask. Why am I trying to notice if I'm trying to get him to do something different than what he's doing towards what I want him to do? Well, that's kind of interesting. Why am I trying to control him in that way? So it's just to notice in our most intimate relationships, because those are the easiest ones, because we think we know better often, right, than the other person. Well, of course I know better what's good for them, right? So, I mean, hello, but exactly. But, so it's just an interesting opportunity to ask oneself, okay, well, am I really neutral here? Am I really what's happening? So, and then in the greater context of purpose, just, to ask yourself, well, just allow that person to be, because their purpose is theirs alone. Theirs alone, not yours, theirs. And it's their path and their journey. So take your hands out of their thing, because it's really disrespectful, I feel, to try and meddle. It's like saying to them, you don't even know what you're doing. You need my help because you can't possibly figure this out on your own. Well, that's not true. Would you want that to happen to you? No, I wouldn't personally. So Anyhow, it's just to notice that. Yeah. And then also to note that, you know, if you continue, even if you don't know what your purpose is and you think it's a doing, like I have to do something, join a group, do something, whatever, once we can let go of that, if we do the frequency work and let go of that need to know what that is, because oftentimes that's just because we have a sense of like, we want a certain sense of certainty. Like, oh, I found the thing. I found it. I'm good. I've got the thing. I know what the purpose is now. I'm fulfilled. Yes, check, right? So just notice if that just gives you a certain sense of certainty, if that's why you want it. Yeah. And notice that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's human, okay? But just notice if that's why you want to know so badly. Now, if it's a sense of like, I'm trying to feel full or trying to feel fulfilled or whole or complete, that's because your spirit is trying to wake you up and be like, okay, well, now it's time to remove these distortion patterns so you can become whole, complete, or remember your whole. It's not that it's to remember your wholeness, your completeness from within.